afternoon, Brian. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us at Jeppe Boats and Blades. And it's, we've spoken for many moons now, and it's good to finally speak to you face to face, as it were. So the first question, let's go right into the first question. When did you start rowing, and what drew you to the sport in the first place?
I started rowing in Form 3 in Jeppe. That would be about 1959. Jeppe had a crew that rowed. They rowed as Jeppe, but they weren't an official school team. And then the school decided that they asked if there were people who wanted to join the rowing club. And I had never thought of being a rower, I'll be honest with you. But I realized I was not going to be an outstanding rugby player, a bit injury prone, or cricket player. And my major sport was actually athletics. And I thought that rowing would help me with athletics. So I went off to Wemmerpan, and there was Doc Tomlinson and Ernest Gearing and the dreaded tank. And that is where they started for a couple of weeks in the tank to sort of learn the basics of rowing. And from the tank, we then graduated. We had clinker pairs. Mm-hmm. They were huge. It was a feat of strength just to get them into the water. And I started with a boy called Vernon Monk, and we used to go out in these clinker pairs. And from the clinker pairs, they sort of put together a team which rowed in the clinker fours. And when I talk to people now, I ask them, do you remember Sleet? And they look at me as if I am absolutely mad. It was a sort of elastoplaster. And it was to try and keep the boat afloat, because it was a fairly old boat. So the secret was, in fact, not to win a race, but to actually finish a race. And of course, we had the Jeppe A team, who were much better. They were, in fact, an extremely good crew. I think they were even rowing against juniors at that stage. So we used to finish about a quarter of a mile behind on the VAR. And that taught me a lot, because when you are behind, it is very difficult to maintain your composure as a crew, which we were able to actually do. So we didn't look bad, we didn't look all at sea, but the boat was full of water. It was an old, heavy boat. And I always think that taught me an awful lot, because we developed a style where we would sit back for the first half of the course and then row very fast. And if the other crew called for 10, we would do 20 automatically. We would just respond. The crew was taught to do that. And rowing's a funny thing, because if you are leading, you can actually see your opponent. It's one of the rare sports, I think. And if you see somebody coming up very fast, unless you are very composed, you begin to panic. And this became our sort of rowing technique. I don't think you could use it now, because I think the crews are just so much better. You can't sit back and at the halfway stage decide you're really going to come forward extremely fast. So that was how my start to rowing. And the bug bit, I realized I wanted to be a rower.
Excellent. Well, that's brilliant. So, Brian, how's your time as a Jeppe Oarsman impacted your adult life?
Oh, it had a huge impact. I think Jeppe had a huge impact on me. I was very fortunate. I was, I think, the last head boy under Alan Grant, AJ Grant, who was a a phenomenon at Jeppe. He really was a remarkable man as headmaster. And I was fortunate that as head boy, I had an opportunity to interact with him. And he was a very, I wouldn't say compassionate. He was a fair person. He was a strict person. And just a little anecdote, when I had become a member of parliament, I got a phone call one day, and I lifted up my phone, and I heard this thing, "Goodall, is that you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Goodall, it's Grant here." And I said, "Yes, sir." I was now a 33-year-old member of parliament. And he'd asked me to help him out with his pension, which was my one field of expertise, which I was able to do. And I was horrified at how badly we actually treated teachers, both then and now.
Excellent. So, I mean, Brian, you've been aware of the Jeppe Boats and Blades initiative, and you've been very generous, and you've supported the initiative as well. What are your thoughts on us building a Jeppe rowing community and working with current and past oarsmen to equip the club?
I think it's very important. You know, as an MP, I had an opportunity to actually visit many schools. And I think there's a pattern to good schools, really good schools. Good headmaster, obviously competent teachers, parents who are involved and committed, and old boys who are involved and committed. And I think as a Jeppe old boy, we could learn a lot from the school we dislike so intensely. Yeah. Yes. Mm. Because their old boys have done a phenomenal job.
Absolutely. I mean, we hear a lot about that. You know, CARES has become the standard in terms of old boy community and supporting the school. They really have. And I have to say, I think currently Jeppe is getting much better at it. You know,
yes,
I know that with Dale Jackson, Dale Jackson's really done a sterling job to rally them together, and that's fantastic. And long may they continue, and not only continue but grow as well.
Yeah.
So that's important. Yeah. Brian, as a Jeppe oarsman, is there one particular memory that you recall with great fondness?
Yes. We used to row against. Yeah, we used to row against the juniors, and we won. We had a period where I don't think we lost a race for about 18 months. And it was a race, and I won't mention the person's name because he did become a Springbok oarsman. But, you know, when your boats are out, people would come have a look at your boats. Here we were, a schoolboy crew rowing against men, and they were making comments about our boat. And when we got up to the start, there was what the Aussies would call sledging. And I said to the crew, just calm down, don't react, don't say anything. We'll actually show them in the water. And we actually won. And I'll never forget this person, and I won't use the exact things, looking at us and saying, we didn't come all this way to be beaten by F schoolboys.
And yet there it was. Excellent.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Brian, thank you for that.
But I think there were just so many incredible memories, you know. You know, the other thing that I remember from my early days, I was fairly skinny then. Well, I like to say wiry, but I was relatively thin. And the crew, this is the first time I rode in the A crew, the first A crew. The chap said to me, you know, would you like us to go up sideways when we get the presentation so that you don't feel embarrassed? Because they were big.
Yeah, okay. Well, it says a lot about you then, Brian, as well. And if you were in the crew if you're the smaller in the crew and yet you were in the crew, it says a lot about you. So that's really important as well. Yeah. So Ron, thank you for your time. We do appreciate not only the time that you've spent with us today, but your continued support, and we look forward to many years of working with yourself and with, I mean, crew members from 1958, 59, all the way through to 2021. You know, we're fortunate that we have that full range of oarsmen, teachers.
One of my highlights at Jeppe was I got permission to start a junior crew. Everybody said Form 1s and Form 2s in a row. And I used to, at that stage, we used to cycle up Roberts Avenue. We used to go by bicycle. And I used to accost these little boys to try and get them to join the rowing club. And it was my responsibility to train them, and they became an exceptionally good crew. And that was one of the highlights of my, quite frankly, of my career at Jeppe, the development of those boys.
And it's fantastic because you see them not only in terms of the sport itself and maturing in terms of their capability as oarsmen, but in terms of them developing as people as well, as leaders and as crew members, really. And yeah, absolutely. And something that's been echoed in these interviews quite a while, and I know this is true for you as well, is the friendships that are built in the boat and in the club itself go on forever. I know that's true of you, and a lot of the Jeppe, Martin, and for myself as well. I've got friends. In fact, all my friends from Jeppe that I still know were all rowers. Everyone to the last one of them. So that's what, 35 odd years now, 30 odd years. But they were all rowers, and that's just fantastic.
I gave up rowing. Jeppe used to invite me for social rowing. When I got into the boat at VLC, there was a youngster rowing with us, and he said, "When did you leave Jeppe?" And I told him, and he said, "I wasn't born." And my God, that boat that day seemed very heavy.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Excellent. Brian, thank you for your time. It's always good. For everybody else out there, please do feel free to check out our website. That's www.jppboatsandblades.co.za. And then until the next time we meet, keep pulling for gold. Thank you very much.